and may ask me if ever may mga questions sila. So basically, I need to discuss this one because this is going to be a very big part of your the bulk of the discussion that will be required from you for our project, for our intern project, and at the same time to be able to clarify some issues, especially on your project, because if you would notice, and I hope you had already read my comment on Canvas, natapos ko lang tanan-tanan nga mga midterm submission nyo, and I took time gid to comment on your paper, especially if there is a need for you to change or to think of a different or modify your product, because possible that what you have proposed, that what the idea that you have submitted is not workable, okay, or is not actually the one that is really required from you when we talk about the unwholesome product or that unfit product, okay. So may ara nga mga gintang deny ko nga mga products, because first is that it is not considered unwholesome, but actually a product that is a failure in the market, maybe because of the marketing strategies. Ang failure, yeah, it's not because of the product itself, but because of the marketing strategy. It could be because of the wrong branding. That's why it is not even existing at present, because gin-stop din siya sa company for the reason that the branding itself, the strategies itself, is a failure. So that's why hindi na siya ma-considered as an wholesome product. What I wanted you for this project is that for you to be able to identify a product na kung baga, do 50-50 siya, 50-50 in the sense that there is a possible buyer for that market, and there is as well controversies or issues that a certain portion of the population or of the market would not buy such product because primarily it is unsafe for them, it is unfit for them. So mostly it's more on the health, more on the health issues na ilang gina-consider. Okay? So pero somehow may mga benefits. It's a matter of how we would introduce that product, how we would push that product to market. Kaya may pa siya yapon. So kakumbaga, if you are working in the company, what you need to do is to change the perception, to change the belief of the market towards that product. In our paper, that how would you be able to influence and to change the perception of the market towards that product? Ang perception. So kung maghambal tayo ang wrong branding, it may be because of the wrong strategy, kay mahal siya nga product, sa pricing na nila naman ang concern, and then the promotion nila ang concern, then that could not be considered as a product for this project because the marketing strategy ang failure. But here, the hesitation of the market, it's because of the issue some product fitness, or the product safety. Amo na siya ilang main concern. So that's why it is now a challenge for us on how to change the belief, the psychology of the consumers para mabago na. Okay? So that's why in the example that I've given you, it is about the cigarette, the Philips cigarette, because kabalo kita nga hati, there is indeed smokers. There's a market for cigarette, but then we know for a fact that may mga health issues na siya or may mga health concerns na siya. So that is why the market does not, the whole market do not smoke because may mga issues sa ilaya. And a lot of the project being submitted subong on your batch is about the alcoholic beverage or the alcoholic drinks. which I approved. Although, of course, it's a very simple product, gin-approve ko na siya, provided that you need to identify a new market outside the country. So for this case, I would like to make this clear. You should be able to sell your product outside Philippines. Para, here, for you to be able to understand and to learn about the culture of other countries. Kaya kung sa Pilipinas naman balakat, wala na kamo sa in-learn. Basically, we know about our behavior, we somehow know our beliefs, okay? Para to be fair to everyone, because I am encouraging those who will be selling alcoholic drinks, I am encouraging them to sell those products outside the country, especially if there's competition out there. They may even have good, okay, alcoholic drinks in their country. Pero ang gusto ko is that there would be learning on this project that you will be able to identify and even to understand, okay, the culture of other countries, which you could really differentiate that to the one, okay, to our culture. Okay, so dapat tanan-tanan would go outside and would sell their product outside the Philippines. So you have to understand and you have to do research. So this is just not about a research. You have to do research about your target market when it comes to their culture, when it comes to their values and lifestyle, which we are going to discuss this in this module this morning. So muna siya i-clarify ko dapat that it should be outside the country. And another one, the rejection that I have for your paper is that may ara iba na grupo na what they have proposed actually is selling or pushing dynamite, okay, dynamite fishing. That in itself is really negative siya. I could not identify, siguro mahambal ko ba may advantage man siya. 1, okay, versus 9 the disadvantages. So it's really kadayo-layo gid kay some difference nila. And that practice is actually, it's a no-no gid siya. Wala siya sang kaayuhan actually nga ma-resulta. So that's why I made as well a rejection on that. Another one would be dukong doble na gid bala ko ka very obvious gid katama that the disadvantages that we will be getting from that product would really outweigh the advantage. So wala ko man na siya gina-push. Okay? Because mabudlayan ka mo because generally mabalkat hindi na siya gani pwede. There are 2 groups who consider marijuana. So hindi na ko mag-accept, especially those who will be changing their product. I will no longer accept marijuana. There are already 2 groups, okay, nga nag-consider sa marijuana. But in that case, I want them to really think of a product, existing product that made use lang marijuana. Kumbaga, si marijuana is just what is a raw material, okay, being used in the production of the product. So pwede na siya, but they have to because there are medicinal claims for marijuana. Okay, so dira mo nang ilang i-push sa market. So it's a matter of who will be this target market, challenging target market that they will penetrate. So dira na siya ang challenge. Okay, so mo na siya ang gina-consider ta in this project. And I want you also guys, i-clear ko na ang mind nyo because as I was thinking about it in the previous night, siling ko hala, supposedly you students should be idealistic pagin ka muna. Maybe basi ang idanda sa inyo medyo hina-hina bala ang pag-process ng mga information wherein you might be confused nga ado ginapasel kami ni Miss ang product like marijuana, smoking, alcohols. Okay? So here, i-clear ko ni siya, i-process ko ni siya sa inyo guys ha. In LaSalle, of course, we are teaching you to have really values. So if you will be businessmen in the future, marketers in the future, we want you to have that LaSallian values, kid. And we always have to consider the benefits that we give to our consumers. So that's why, as much as possible, with the product that you are going to choose, okay, you have okay, you have to consider that there is indeed or there are benefits, okay, that our consumers can get from our product. Okay? Although in reality, if you will be in the corporate world, you really expect, okay, that sometimes the companies that you will be working with would be producing product na wala ka nagabilib. Kung baga, kung ikaw mismo, if you're going to be user of this product, wala ka, hindi ko na magamit ito. Kaya kabalo ko na kung ano na siya nga product or mga failures or mga defects sa ina product, so hindi ko magamit. Okay? If in reality, okay, that's really true. So that's why there are others nga kung very high ang ira morals, okay, ang values nila, they opt to look for a different job. Kung baga ba sila hindi, kung matulon ang mga practices da nila, okay, because kita nila kung ano ba kalatabo. Just like lang, if you're going to para ma-relate nyo, just like what happened, but like what happened during the shutdown of ABS-CBN, I can see some posts, I don't know if there are trolls or whatsoever, some posts nga naghambal, nga grabe man ang violations ng ABS-CBN, grabe sila mag-maltratar sa ABS-CBN. We're in, but if you're going to think about it, you have all the freedom, you have all the options to leave the company. If the morals is against yours, then look for a different job. So it's the same thing. Okay, kung may ara nga do ka hindi mo gid na hindi mo gid mabato na mga practices nila, then leave the job. Okay? That's why ang iningang mga products, iningang mga companies which are really mga high risk ng mga products, because the reality is they are really paying a very good salary. Philip Morris, they are paying a very good salary because of the challenge, okay, that their employees will have in selling the product. Dako na ang mga sweldo sa ilang mga salesperson. Same is true even with San Miguel Corporation. Okay, because they are selling ilang mga flagship ng mga products, they're actually get paid, the workers are actually paid higher. So mo lang may mga consequences na dira. Because the reality is if you are a seller, you really have to believe the product that you are selling. So that's why ang gusto ko kamo, sige given that let's say you have this particular product which is really very challenging on you to sell, how would you be able to do that? Okay, so the first thing, okay, that you need to consider is that you need to understand, okay, both the internal and external stimuli that influence consumer behavior. So when it comes to that internal stimuli, we've discussed about the learnings, the beliefs, the motivations, okay, those are internal to the market, or those are internal to the consumers. Okay? And at the same time, magamal ang mga external stimuli that could influence consumer behavior would be ang resource, would be the opportunities. Okay? The combination of both internal and external, do you have the opportunities, okay, to buy that product? Do you have the capability? Although of course internal siya ang resources naman at the same time. But this afternoon, what we're going to discuss is actually the last two topic. Okay, the last two topic will be about the values and lifestyle of the consumers, and at the same time the culture. Because when we talk about, okay, when we consider about consumers' personality, okay, self-concept at the same time, so those are basically the things that really influence an individual. Okay, so you may, guys, I hope that you would take time really to read on the module. I don't know kung ginabasa nyo gid man ang module nga gina-post ko, because the content basically of our discussion, okay, of our topic is ara gid na siya sa module tanan-tanan. Okay, so please do read on the module, because there will be information, there would be theories that you might consider helpful in the preparation of your final project. Ara lang na tanan sa may module. Okay? So here, in this module, so maybe I would just share na lang. I will share na lang the screen for our module and na lang ko ma-discuss, because these are basically the things, okay, the things that should be covered on your paper. And by the way, guys, yes, ari pagid gali. I guess I shared this with you that you are required to have an online presentation Pero na-realize ko, like for example, like Subong, there are only 11 of you, okay, who are online. So maybe most of those na wala nakago online, it is maybe because they have difficulty accessing the internet. So amo na nga ako na nagpreparahan kay base bala during the presentation ang isa nyo or duwa nyo ka groupmates hindi maka-present because of poor connection. So kaluluoy man, and it will be really be affecting the entire group, which is not fair. So what I have in mind na lang, okay, for our presentation, for our project, I want you to have it pre-recorded. I-pre-record nyo the list that you can do, especially in helping those classmates of yours who have this unstable internet connection, is that they can do selfie, okay, for the presentation, they can do selfie, and then they just have to send, let's say, to a group leader or to anyone in the group who can compile. Okay, i-compile nyo ang inyong mga pre-recorded video that would appear as if doka one presentation lang. Or, if it's possible, okay, I would highly suggest that you have it, okay, kamo nga apat, kamo naka-online, kamo nga apat, or 5, and then you do a Zoom meeting. And you record your Zoom meeting, and then you are going to submit that recorded video or recorded file para amo na siya ang ipresenta during our class. Okay, para at least there would be maybe a leader or a representative from the group who will just merely introduce the product, and then i-show ta na lang ang inyong presentation online. So amunta na lang na siya kay para wala ta sang delay, and at the same time to be fair to everyone na maka-present gid, because that is the tendency nakita ko nga, okay, the possible failure, the possible problem would be the internet connection. Okay, so umbahon ta lang na siya, okay, as pre-recorded video. Okay, so here this is actually on your module, so the introduction. So why do we need really, okay, to consider the personality, the lifestyle, and then the self-concept of our customers. So here, when we talk about competition in business, other than creating differentiation, okay, real product differentiation, most of the companies may as well identify kung ano ang unique na personality of this product. Because that personality of a particular product would be able to target a specific na target market who has more or less relatively the same personality. So that's why we would experience that sometimes makambata, you would have a friend na pagkakita, may nakikita ka, hala, that dress is so Lance, or that dress is so Irene. Because you know your friend Irene or you know your friend Lance. So ma-associate na nga amoy siyang termi nga ginagamit di Irene. So that's why when you see a product, do kapareha sina gin-associate nyo sa personality ni Irene. So that is one way of being successful in identifying your target market, or even in creating your product once you very once you really understand rather your target market. So that is one way. Okay, so you have to understand your consumers, okay, your consumer personality, their values, and then their lifestyle. So that's why here we have to understand, okay, how our consumers would see things, because how they see things would differ from each other. In our place in Bacolod, we would see, kung let's say, kung ako professional and medyo high-end kung professional, and at the same time mahambal kung do ka business like hindi ang ako niya personality. If I am going to buy a product, then I would buy at Lowalde. Kay dira makita nga do ka mga business like kada sila, kay dira makita nga do ka even with the choices of color nila, do ka mga serious, kasi do ka business like and professional like sila. As well that it is expensive as compared to others. Pero kung maghambal ko nga do ka ano lang, casual lang yun kuya, okay? casual lang gid ko, and at the same time the colors would be simple one as well, then I would go to Uniqlo. Okay, so makita mo ang different personality of these brands, okay, and at the same time as well, how what's the personality of the consumers as well na pwede ta sila ma-associate. Okay, because these consumers okay, would see things differently. So makuya-kuya, for example, I would really seldom buy mga printed ones. Okay, not unless because I have this difficulty of matching that, okay, with a pants or with a skirt. So dira naman ang challenge ko. Okay, so I would rather make use of those mga casual lang yun. So there are stores that I would frequently visit because of my personality. So that is how even the company would consider creating personality for their products. So kung magambal ka nga, okay, rugged, kuya, I am more on rugged, then you would go where you would be buying jeans, you would be buying Levi's. That's why Levi's as a brand, it is being considered as rugged. So there are brands as well nga mga sophisticated brand, those which are really expensive. Okay, so may ara ng mga personality na daan kay ang mga products themselves. So here, we are going to discuss, and these are the things that should be covered on your paper. We're going to discuss about the approaches in studying the personality. Okay, so why personality is really important. Okay, the application of lifestyle psychographics and demographics. Okay, how do we measure the psychographics of the consumers, and at the same time, the role of the self-concept, and then the self-congruency and consumer behavior. That's why, because congruent, that's why the consistency is what I've said. Kung ano nga personality sa consumer, same na sila almost na ginabakal nila ang manang personality sa brand na ginabakal nila, because there is that congruency. Okay? So if we're buying as well, if we're buying let's say a cosmetics, okay, when we buy cosmetics, it is more because of the self-image. Okay? So it is congruent to the person, okay, using that product. So that is really an important thing, okay, that you need to discuss on your paper, on your final paper, because you would be able to push your product to the market. Okay, the moment ka makita mo nga may tsansa do kasamho do parehas sa personality how. To whom are you going to sell alcoholic drinks? Basically, may mga personality, may mga lifestyle na sila na unique, na lain sang sa mga non-drinkers. Okay, so dira na kamo nag-atake, dira kamo nagasulod, so ginaamat-amat yun na sila uncover na ang aton ang inyong mga market. And then at the same time here, so when we talk about personality, so basically just I encourage you really, okay, to read on our module, okay, because ara na tanan-tanan guys ha. Okay, when we talk about the personality, okay, that would encompass the thoughts, emotions, intention, tendencies, and behavior of that person that is consistent, okay, to the environment where she belongs. Okay, so that's the personality. So sometimes we are basically being influenced by the circle of friends, okay, of our family. That's why I shared this with the class. I remember when we were young, because I grew up in a family wherein mga laon ang mga utod ni mama. So that is those are the people that I grew up with. So nakita ko na ang fashion nila sa una when we were in elementary, ang kung ano nang ilang nga muda na nga mga bayo, mga naga-dress gid na sila going to the church. We would also do the same, because my mom would even have as tailored dress na parehas kami na sa manghod ko. Okay, kung naka three sister ko na same tela, same color, same nga design niya ang ipatahi man sa manghod ko. So we would go to church wearing those things. Okay. And then I remember when I'm looking at my picture, nagkakadlaw ko, nagayuhom ko, simple ang choices of dress ko sa una when I was in elementary, and even nadala ko even during high school, are the fashion na nakita ko sa mga tiya ko. My aunt loves to wear violet, color bisan laon, and during that time, really, I love to wear man violet. I like violet because amo nang nakita mo mong that's the exposure that you have. Na nagakadlaw ko, sabihin ko, hala, while my classmates are already wearing jeans when they were in high school, ako I was already wearing dress. Di mo nang ako nga, amo nang ako nga dakuan, amo nang exposure ko. I could not really recall having or owning jeans when I was in high school. So, pero feeling ko ilisipon ng ginang jeans ko sa high school ko. Mostly elementary ko yung dress, kaya nga dress. And then when I was in college, okay, when I was in college, nag-change na. Nag-change naman ang fashion style ko because I was exposed naman to my dorm mates nga ka mga ragged, ginakatama. I graduated from UP, and then what we would wear during that time is just that ako, I would be wearing plain t-shirt, loose pa na t-shirt, the fashion in the late 90s. I would be wearing t-shirt and then naka-fold na sa halog-halog na. With my pants nga during that time, it's halog man nga naka-square na blank cut na nakalapad na sa may punta. That even kung galakat ka, doon ka panilhig ka lang, malimpyuhan mo ang salog, ang tanan nga yabok, masilhig sang imo nga pants. I am wearing that, and I don't bring with me bags. Okay? I would just not merely bring with me book and then lapis. We would go to our classroom because ang classroom naman is just but inside the campus. Our dormitory is inside the campus. Manaog lang kami sa dorm, sa dalom na namon, may klase kami at 7:30 in the morning. So we won't even be taking a bath, attending our first class. After sa first class, lang kami natin manglabos, so toothbrush lang kami natin, nakapajama pa kami na, we would go to our class. And then after that, balik sa may dormitory and then maligo. Kasi 7:30, nag-start na nga na klase. So that is the fashion style ko naman when I was in college. And then, especially kung lalaki mo sa ko ng mga business, kung ka mga lalaki mo, so yung even, di ba, sometimes, what you wear would even influence how you behave. So, kumbaga, do ragged, yun. So, even ang mga paghiyo ko sa una, sa the first thing ko lang mag-picture. So, awkward niya sa ako na mag-posing. Because I am not used to that. Because, biskadang bayo mo karaged katama. So, do ka pangbuyong, mandala nga mga posing mo how. Because if you are wearing na dress, if you are wearing na, let's say, dresses or lain na ang bayo mo during that time, do dalaga ka naman. Kumbaga, you will be behaving as okay. So when I was in college, and that's the time that I changed na. I changed na my fashion style. Basically, after graduation, okay, when I work in Manila, that's the time that I actually changed na my fashion style. Because of the exposure. That's the first thing yet. It's because of the exposure. Mas wider na. Okay? Mas wider na ang perspective mo. You have as well the money to spend to buy the stuff that you like. So, nag-change naman ang personality mo. Okay? So, nag-grow, nag-change mo ng personality. And even the products that you are choosing, that you prefer, as well change as your personality changes. Okay? So, that's how very strong actually ang personality. So you should be able to know the personality of the products ninyo will be offering, and then the personality as well of the consumers, okay, that you are trying to serve, okay, that you are trying to sell your offering. Okay, so that's with the personality. And at the same time, okay, so you have just read on this, okay, when we consider about the id and then the ego and then the super ego. So wherein if we're going to consider what really motivates this person in buying a particular product. That's why yung iban mambal nga ka-practical na sa ila, practical na sa iya nga buyer because they have that certain personality. Okay, they have that preference. Even with the choice, when we talk about the id, okay, when we talk about what's the difference, kasi ama ba talang ego niya, but actually more on the two extreme, it's the super ego. Okay, the two extreme would be more on the pleasure seeking. Okay, pleasure seeking, tang id, that is what it's more on the sexual, more on the libido. Nga, okay, kung pagustuhan talang na siya, okay, we will be acting really wild as compared to the ego that we have. So the ego that we have is the entirely opposite of our id, okay, the pleasure seeking. So our ego, would be the one who would consider, what's the norm, what's the culture, what should be the right thing to do, or that's the reality, the values that we have to consider. Kaya kung babayaan ta lang na I think I forgot sino na siya nga philosopher na muna sa una yung basis kuno of happiness nila is that it's about pleasure. It's the absence. Okay, it's the absence of of uh, of the hardship. So tanan na lang do ka enjoyment. Okay, so here we have to consider that aton nga mind, ang aton nga personality is actually being as well balanced, balanced by the ego that we have, because kabaluta nga that's something, the excessiveness in that area, would lead us, to do something na hindi man maayo, especially talking about the morals, the values, that we have, or the culture that we have. So muna ang aton mga gina-consider. Okay, so when we are selling, or when we are selling the product, so what do we try to address, or what's the emotion would it basically result to? So it is more on the sexual, or may ara, it's more may ara about the values or the morals. And this reminded me because there was actually one group who who uh, who proposed to be selling, pwede ni siya nga okay in the super ego nga discussion, who will be selling is sex toys. Feeling ko, guys, yes, that product is actually present, but the reality is those were the products na wala gina-market. Silent na sila, ara na sila sa gray market or sa black market na sila gani. So hindi sa pwede that would really go out, that would go out in the open. Hindi pa na amo na open-minded ang market, that they would basically see this product in the market. So doka hindi lang naanaya, hindi lang tana, I would not consider that, although of course mabal kada the personality maigo ni siya nga muni nga discussion sa mga ego sa mga consumers. So I scrapped that idea as well, kag I did not allow them to proceed with that product to offer to the market. So just treat on this, we talk about as well the trait, the personality, the traits of the individuals, how would they be able to change ang ila mga preferences because of their total traits of the individual personality and traits nila. And at the same time, so here when we talk about owning material possession, owning expensive ones, ang iba naman niya, they would prefer to have the affordable ones because they have limited resources. But then iban pa, despite the fact that they have resources, pero the practicality side, they would still value the practicality sa product. So they would prefer to buy the cheaper ones, kung makita man na some cheaper ones, rather than really buying the expensive products. So pwede nyo man siya magamit. So discuss about the stuff which you deem relevant on your paper. So may ara nga mga competitiveness as comparing to the products of your competitors, basically changing the beliefs of the market to shift and to try your product because your product is better than the others. So kung if it is more on the medicinal na ilang product mo, like the marijuana thing, kung if that product is you think is really more effective than what is existing, so you have to cite those researches. And always consider referencing, right referencing of your product. So here, of course, the personality has had a different extroversion, agreeableness of the consumers. Read on this. And then here, this is what I've said about the brand personality, because brands as well may have its unique personality. Okay, so it comes to excitement, the ruggedness, the competence, the sophistication of the product. It's more on the perception. And usually, ang gina-compare to it's about the price, the image of the product. Okay, and then when do we usually use that? Kumbaga, through learnings, nang makabata akong Levi's ka, di ba, bakit rugged, jeans, gina siya. So, cowboy, okay, that's the association actually that we have to that product, and because of that learning, naka-consistent na ginagamit na siya during ginagamit na siya sa amo na nga mga occasion. So this is where we have already developed the personality to the product. And then of course, okay, here, okay, so here in this case, mga love and passions, okay, consumer researches based on a certain researcher. The quality of such relationship can be explained as, okay, for the consumer and brand relationship, the love and passion. Why are we using that particular brand? Because we ata kumbaga grabe na ang aton nga, grabe na ang connection ta with the product, with that love towards the product. We really remain loyal. So this is how naman they would describe, okay, that relationship between the consumer and then the brand. Okay, so imagine nga this particular author was able to identify, okay, about this different relationship, the love and passion, okay, strong feelings about the brand, okay, that they even permit. Wala, alam ko yun, hindi ko na sila nawabuang, hindi na sila, even how mahal the brand is, they would really buy that brand. Okay, so that's how naman they would describe it. And then of course, when we talk about the lifestyle, if you can recall that activity that we have, okay, here in Engage, you were asked to do the values and lifestyle survey. That is a very effective way of understanding our values, our lifestyle and values. Basically, when we talk about lifestyle, it is the combination of a person's education, of the person's resources, to say the capability nila, okay, consider, or the socio-economic, okay, makeup of the person. And at the same time, if you could recall, okay, that survey, and if you took it seriously, you would know, okay, through the result that they would be sharing to you, you would know what motivates you as a consumer to buy. It's more on the motivation. Okay, what motivates you to buy? You are motivated to buy because you are the type of person who would really prefer achievements, who would really prefer you're buying a product because you see that as your expression, self-expression. Okay? So, lain-lain ang nag-motivate sa aton. Okay? Or sometimes we are buying a particular product because our image is really important. Okay? So, that's how they would see, okay, the values and then the lifestyle. If you took it really seriously, ma-realize yun ay sakto ang akon nga result, because as a buyer, amo ni siya ang akon nga gina-prioritize kid man. So, kung madumduman yun, there are actually different classifications for the values and lifestyle. We have the innovators, we have the achievers, mga thinkers, experiencers, I think those 6 or 8, believers, strivers, wherein nagalain-lain na for those mga innovators, they are the ones makabalka, they are the most successful or sophisticated people, and they have high self-esteem. Those are the people that every time there is something new in the technology, they would go and buy for it. They are the ones nga kung may bago naman sang January lang sila nakabakal iPhone 11 Pro Max, nabakal naman sila sulong sa iPhone 12 Pro Max. So they are the innovators. And when it comes to resources, they do have the resources in. And they have that self-image. So, iba na gani mga businessmen. Sa una, I would remember the use of the BlackBerry. The BlackBerry are really targeted for the businessmen. So, makita mo na mga businessmen, even sa mga movies, mga Hollywood movies, you would see those people, mga businessmen using the BlackBerry. So they are more on the innovators. So technology is really important for them because that would say something about their image. Or ang iba naman daya, they are as well would consider the self-expression. Okay? They would consider self-expression. They would consider the novelty of the items that they are buying or the excitement that they do feel when they use the product. So they are more on the experiencers. Okay, so lain naman. Ang opposite naman sa innovators would be the strivers. Okay, the strivers on the other hand, motivated man na sila to buy. Okay, shopping nila is one way man of demonstrating their ability to buy. However, they don't have enough resources like that of the achievers or like that of the innovators. Limited na resources nila pero nag-shop na sila. They do love as well to shop, so they are the strivers. Or they work hard because they wanted to shop and they wanted to own those things. Okay, so amo naman na ang nag-motivate naman sila to work. Okay, when it comes, especially we talk about the materialism sa mga consumers, amo naman na iya ang nag-motivate sa ila. So it's really a very good, because if you took it seriously, you would know and you would understand who are you, okay, as a consumer and as a buyer. Okay, so gina-consider na siya ang resources. Okay, the purpose of that is that for you to be able to identify. Let's say if I am Apple product, then I would know that I am possibly capturing, I am possibly having a market which I would say would be achievers and innovators and even strivers. Mahambal kuya, even those with limited resources, they would still be buying my product because may self-image mas lang nga prefer, because they also consider their status or they also consider shopping to demonstrate their capability or their ability. They still consider the benefits that they get from the product. So although iskan mahal na sila, they would strive to own the product. So pwede nila gyapon gina-identify as a possible market nila na ang mga strivers. Okay? So may mga survivors, okay? Anong ila gina-prioritize? Okay? They lack resources, so they would prioritize on the basic needs. Okay? Okay na sila nga pang tingi-tingi because they still consider the need for the product, pero because of the lack of the resources, mas okay na sila, kampante na sila with the tingi-tingi or with the minudo nga buying. So that's how naman na the lifestyle nila. Most of the Filipinos are survivors. That's why okay sa aton nga sachet lang tayo magbakal, tingi-tingi lang tayo magbakal. So that's one way, okay, of identifying your market. Okay, so here we have to identify the segments, the lifestyle segments of the market. Okay, so that's what with Valve. You just use Valve, the prism, hindi ko say okay na tayo with the prism. We would go that, it's more on the geographic mo. Although may ara siya nga ma-focus, pero sige lang. We might be considering na lang yun kung more on the lifestyle lang a discussion, because the prism or the geodemographic technique, it combines the consumer expenditure ang socio-economic variables when it comes to their income, when it comes to their education, the geographic information and that as well. Okay, so these are the demographic. Of course, you need to know the age or the cohorts, generation X, generation Y na ang market ang inyong i-serve. Because the moment na na-specify nyo kung sino gid na market ang inyong i-offer, ang inyong i-cater, let's say, you would go for the baby boomers, then mas hapos sa inyo na mag-insindi kung ano na sila, because damo na researches that talks about the baby boomers. Okay, so at least may justification lang kamo nga sila. Okay, maybe one or two nga mga readings to support the justification that would be good na. So here, hapos na lang siya pang tao na mga information on the net. And then of course the last one, okay, when we talk about the self concept, okay, the totality of thoughts and feelings that the individual has about him or herself. Okay, so pwede pa na siya ma-relate about the values mo nila, the actual self nila, how do they see themselves, what their self-concept about themselves, okay, who am I really, or what do I like to be in the future, how would I like to be in the future. So those are the ideals nila. So these are the things really, okay, these are the things na kita as consumers gina-consider again. That even okay, when talk about self-esteem, when we talk about advertising in the self-esteem. Okay, so here, talking about creating that particular self-image, nga ang iban would go into a tattoo. Okay, nga nagapatattoo sila, nga nag-use sila sa mga cosmetics, nga nag-use sila sa body modification. These are actually because of the self-esteem is important to them. And these are because as well for them, it's a matter of self-expression because that is more talking about themselves. Okay, so that's why gina-consider na siya really important in the consumer behavior. Okay? And our last topic will be about culture. Okay, sa culture ka naman, which we're in, may ara lang ko nga ipa-focus kung yung discussion sa inyo. Because damo siya dimensions to study the culture para at least you would have lang bala, you would learn how to differentiate lang when it comes to the masculinity sang mga buyers, femininity sang sang ina nga market, sang ina nga culture, dira lang ta ma-focus. And I am going to discuss that next meeting. Okay? So again, our presentation for this will start on the first week of December. Okay, so 2 meetings for that. Online presentation, the recorded presentation for the first 2 weeks, and then the entire paper, the e-magazine, will or can be submitted during the exam week. Okay? So are there any question or clarification on this? Pamangkot? Anything that you wanted to clarify, which may be related to your paper?
Miss,
Pamangkot?
morning. Ay, good morning gali.
Yes.
Miss,
Good morning.
ah,
Hindi ka rin kita.
sa
Je, ikaw po, Je?
yes, miss.
Oh, sige, Je. Yes, question.
About lang sa comment mo sa amon paper, ang nabutang, who will be your target market? Do you consider them a possible user of the product, but only they consider this to be unwholesome? Ang amon nga
But
product,
only,
but only they consider this to be unwholesome.
hmm, what is your product again?
Ang robot nga supplement na lang sa
Robot?
robust mes
Ah, robot. Oh,
ang
yeah, yeah,
dietary
yeah.
supplement na mes kay ang target market namon mes nang hindi sa selling broad specific sa katama ang amon target market male nga ga-age 30 ay ga-age usually 30 to 40 and above, pero may mga users man amon nga target market nga may mga erection dysfunction something, mas nga daw may issue sila about sila erection.
Why do you consider it as unwholesome?
Kay ang product mes ng kay dapat ano kami mo alcoholic beverages kami pero amo naman mes kaduka common tapos gina-consider sa namon unwholesome because ang hindi sa kisabla mis may mga parents nga gagamit amo na and then hindi nila gusto makita nga ginagamit sa sang kakakita gali nga may amo na blamis sila bala hindi nila gusto makita sang mga bata nila and then ang mga underage hindi man sila pwede kagamit sa nga muna they consider sila namon unwholesome.
Okay. Selling, is it a contraceptive, right?
Ano sa mes dietary supplement amo na sa ngaging pili sa namon kay atong hambal mo gina nga how are you gonna sell that to the market nang may hindi man sa selling para lang sa sexual purposes lang gid may ara sa sang mga benefits like ga palesen sa stress may mga herbal something sa may say nga benefits nga
Okay.
nalipat na
What makes this product unwholesome?
hindi sa appropriate sa tanan mes I think hindi
Hindi
tanan
siya,
gaksa.
okay, hindi siya appropriate, let's say, for the parents. Maybe because ano reason is because of the culture.
Yes, miss.
That's why mabaka ka, why are you using that one? It maybe be against the cultures ng, let's say, the nanay, well, the parents who are makabalaka, doka conservative.
Yes, miss. Mga
So
traditional
they
nga, mga parents pala
traditional,
nga nagdako sa
okay.
doka traditional way.
Oo, sa traditional. So sila na siya ang the ones who might be the first one na hindi mag-agree on your product.
Yes,
Um,
miss.
Same thing, let's say, targeting that to the younger one
Yes,
because
miss.
we do not expect one tradition. We do not expect these people to be active
Using.
or to be really using sa inyong
Yes,
nga
miss.
product eh. Although the reality is others might be practicing that already,
Yes, miss.
'di ba? Ang ginaano ko lang actually, the first thing that I saw that product, ito naman condom siya.
Ay,
So it's
okay,
not a
miss.
condom.
It's ano sa mes ng daw dietary supplement pero ang main purpose again is mahatag sa sang erection sa male user for 3 hours kay may mga masakit pala mes nga pare sa dysfunction sa
Diabetic.
erection nga hindi sila ka-erect ga-take na sila. Actually ang idea sang robust mes based sa research ko alin isa sa US nga idea from sa Shark Tank
Mm.
na blames ang mga Shark Tank na blanday Mark Cuban may nagpropose ni
Mm.
sila sang amo nga product and then drining ko ang idea sang robust tapos
Pero
ginintroduce sa market.
Dapat yung target market mo din na are those individuals with erection problem.
Ang mayara man mes nga hindi lang ang may erection problem mayara man users nga through the age mes kay mayara nga aslo ang lalaki as long nga gatigulang kaka problema ka sa kung ang parte sa imo erection namo na mes nga gausar sila amo namon target market ages 30 and above or 40 and above something.
So, who would consider this product unfit?
Ang mga maybe partners may ara partners siguro example mag-asawa ay ang
Je,
lalaki gausar yes mes.
pero galing kay hindi na ya ang asawa ang imo imarketan. Ang ibaligyan mo na iya is the user itself,
So
which is the lalaki.
ang dapat may sang ma-consider man sang product nga wholesome ang user man.
User gyud dapat.
See what if bimes ang user gina-consider yan wholesome example may mga lalaki nga hindi na nila gusto magamit ya. Okay lang na mes.
Kung hindi nila pag i-consider igamiton despite the fact that they have that problem,
Problems. Mes.
will you be able to look for that market? Ang unang
Mangita o
ginaproduct
sang
ko ba?
market nga gina-consider nila unwholesome ang product mes. Amo na.
Oo. Kahit ti amo ng challenge ta, paano ta i-change ang perception sa ini nga market
Mm.
who might consider that product helpful galing lang kay alanganin ko da kay because I have a different belief.
Okay mes.
So amo naman na basi na challenge ko ko da on how to look for that. Sige kung amo sina kung if you really insist on the product and if you take the challenge nagpangita ka mo kung paano nyo na siya i-market sa ila to change their perception to buy that product despite of the fact that it is not aligned to their beliefs and goals.
Okay mes. Thank you mes. Kay ging klaro ko lang mes kay hindi ko sure kung ano nga target market ang dapat namon ibutang. Klaro
So
sa
kung ano ko
mga.
so hindi ka na mag-market. Ano ko ba?
Yes
Captured
mes.
market na na.
Mm.
Mabakal ginasiyasin mo yan kung parehas mo na kung daga ng alcohol man sa manuginom. Hindi mo
Yes,
na
yes.
kinalaya ito ba niya kaya kayo bakal mo na siya kung palawbog kasi may nung sila. Ang imo challenge is that paano mo na sa isel ang ina siya nga market sa iban na possible or na pwede dapat na sila magamit. So just like that one. So those who have this problem, mga diabetic, let's say, pero they will not consider using that product maybe because pinakubaan sila or maybe because conservative sila, sila mo na i-push. And those
Ayo.
siya na nga nakita na nila as helpful for them, may nang ginasadaya.
So ang
Matake
ibutang
on that.
sa target market mas ang consumer nga ga gina-consider na unwholesome ang product.
Oo.
Okay,
Yes.
miss.
Oh,
Klaro na, miss.
yes.
Thank you, miss.
Okay. Ano pa? Wala pa? Guys, you try to discuss now with your group mates. Those are the things that you need to cover and you need to discover and you need to address para in our next meeting pwede ta maklarify. Like what Jerel did. Kay kung hindi ko mag-gets pang perception ang inyong idea about that one, maybe may mga confusion kamo pa para maklaro ta sa klase. Pa hindi ko makibot na kanubo sa grado nyo. Okay? Pero dyan, nagambal ko tunga daw, o tunga ko dyan, no? So if you would consider that unwholesome, sige, pangita kung paano.
Yes, miss.
Kung paano nyo lang
Nakabutang mo lang to,
i-market.
miss, nakabutang to nga ang amo lang nga market ang ga-consider na unwholesome. Amo mo na to nakabutang sa comment, miss. Kag explication, gali, miss, explication.
Expectation, you have to, what makes that unwholesome. Actually, hindi ko ba, bilang ang perception yung unwholesome siya because kaya ako niya kilala ko si Robos, sinigita ko na si Robos niya as Rose na ara sa counter dahil sa mga sa mga supermarket case condoms na yun niya ang the first image that would appear to mind. And because they have as well man, diba? They have as well man do ka mo ginaisip nilang flagship nila nga product condom there were actually advertisements on that. So mo na yun kasi basta mo ng perception nyo it made it unwholesome because of that. Because of the perception kay unwholesome siya. Tradition or culture wise lain ang pag-perceive sa iya. Okay, so please discuss with your group mates so that you still have time to clarify ang mga issues that that may time pa ko to address that during our class. Okay?